Hello friends, and welcome to Lizzie Art Steps. I'm really excited to share you guys about my first, that's a stupid way to... Hello friends, and welcome to Lizzie Art Steps. I'm really excited to get to share with you guys today my experience about attending my very first arts festival. So I actually went and I sold some postcards. You can actually see them up behind me and my little painting back here too. I went through and I worked really hard, and I didn't even put out any videos because all I was doing was making art and surviving. I mean, that's the goal. But I'll be able to show you guys kind of some of the things that were for sale, some of the other booths that were there, and I'll go over a drawing that I made as well. So without further ado, let's get to the video. Where might I go now that I'm home too far? You will come to know when the mornings are fall. So we're going to come over here. All kinds of great things. All the way down. And here's my booth. And here's my paintings. They are right here. And here is my postcards. All of them are here. And it's great. Except for the 6 that I sold. And cons. And these ones too. The end. So this was the initial setup of my booth. I had my paintings hanging, and then on the other side we had my sister's pots that she painted. And I just went and we had a great time. It was fairly hot, but I mean, we honestly survived it, all things considered. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of my experience. We actually ended up renting a booth, which was kind of, I mean, you may not know this, but you do have to actually rent the space that you use. For the Magna Arts Festival, it was $25 for the space. If you needed like electricity or water, or if you wanted like a corner space, I believe it was more. I did not need any of those things because I'm cheap. But mostly just because like I'm selling postcards. I don't need electricity. I can figure, I'll bring my own power bank. Thank you very much. But all in all, it was actually a pretty good deal. Now, the expense comes with making whatever you're going to sell, and like bringing things like water to stay hydrated and scissors, which we forgot to bring. That was a really fun adventure. And there's also the actual canopy itself that shades you from the sun and the rain and wind, because this is an arts festival. You don't want your art to get wet. Like that's a kiss of death for your art. So canopy, very important. And the problem is that they actually range anywhere from like $60 to like $85. Which if you're like me and you're from the poors, like that's not a very affordable option. So yeah, we ended up going through, and I found someone who had a tent. I asked them very nicely if they would let me borrow it, and they did. So my cost was mostly materials and rental space, which if you can get like a situation like that set up, that would be like the best example I can get for you. I actually ended up looking up how much it would be to set up a booth at the Utah State Fair, because I was just curious. I was like, oh, if it's $25, maybe I'll do another art crunch and then do that one too. And then it was like $850 for the booth space, and I sat there and I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was so expensive. So definitely go for the community art events. They might be cheaper. Otherwise, you know, make a lot of art and then go to a state fair maybe. Like that's, I wouldn't do that personally. Unless you're selling like deep fried corn dogs, it might not be worth it. But overall, okay, guys, we're here at the part, the crazy old man story, okay? So Magna is a really interesting place. It's really historic, it's really old, and it's got all ranges of people. It has, you know, just, I mean, it has your regular everyday people, sure, but like it also has many people who enjoy substances, as well as old people, which everywhere has old people, but I bring that up because, okay, we're just sitting at our booth, minding our business, right? And this guy, who is, no joke, like, looking like he is 90 plus years old, he's pushing a wheelchair. So he's not riding in it, he's pushing it, and there's like a box in the seat full of all these random things, and he comes up to us, doesn't even like say hello or anything, comes up to my sister, grabs her hand, looks to see if there's a ring on her left hand, and he ends up going, and then he like takes from this keychain this ring and puts it on her finger and tries to like take her finger off, ? And then he ends up like saying, darn, they're always too attached. And like, I was like, is this a joke? Like, and then he tried mine, which I'm married, so he was like, oh, they're always too attached. And I was like, okay, well that's kind of, and I was just like, you know they are, because I don't know, like I used to deal with old people, and a lot of times it's best to just kind of play along with them. And then he goes up to my sister again, and I see him palm a coin, very obviously, okay, and he takes it and like pulls it from behind her ear like, what? And I was just like, oh, very nice. And I'm like, okay, I get this now. This is like a magic show, right? Traveling wheelchair magic show. I'm on board. So then he goes and he has both hands out, and he's like, which one has the coin? And she's like, that one. And he's like, you're right. Okay, now rub the hand like this. And so my sister just awkwardly rubs his hand, and he goes, oh, it's disappeared. Which, to be fair, I didn't see what happened to the coin at that part, so that was like very nice. And he's like, now rub the other hand. And she rubs it, and he is like, it does nothing, but it sure feels good. And we laugh politely, but at the same time, we're all just kind of sitting there awkwardly like, who are you again? Because, again, this guy walks up, doesn't say his name, doesn't say why he's here. He's just comes up. And then he goes and he's like, okay. Goes over and to his little basket thing, says, have you guys had lunch yet? And we're like, yes. And he says, I've got chicken, and takes out a rubber chicken and squeezes it until it makes that shrieky chicken noise. And I'm just like, who's this guy? And then he goes and he brings out a photo of a woman dressed as a clown and says, we've been married, this is mine, and we've been married 76 years, and we tell him congratulations. And then he walks off. I'm not saying he goes like, thank you, and walks off. No, he just, like, what? Still don't know his name, still don't know why he was there. Just, it was the most bizarre thing ever. And I ended up turning to, like, my sister's boyfriend who was with us, and I just was like, welcome to Magna. Because you meet all kinds of people there. But overall, honestly, it was such a great experience. I met so many great people, and my booth neighbors were pretty much the nicest people I have ever met in my life. When I forgot my scissors, they were super chill about letting me borrow a box cutter, and when my little girl was running around and trying to fill all the jars with samples, they actually did give her one to take home, and it was freaking adorable, and also quite the bargain, because those jars were like $10. I'm just saying, it was really fun. And there was music, as you guys saw in the clips. There was, like, definitely tons of food. And it was lots of different food, too. Like, it wasn't just, like, I met a taco truck and that was it. Like, there was a taco truck. There was, like, an African food thing there. It was really cool. And we were actually across the street from a pizzeria. And you better believe I went home with some pizza, because it was delicious. And I also hardly ever make my way out there. And it's really nice to switch it up from eating like salads and kale all day. So overall, it was definitely a 10 out of 10 experience. I did not sell a ton of art, but I mean, considering that the booth space was $25, I actually made back my money. I sold like 6 cards, and then afterwards, I actually sold a painting, which the paintings are more expensive than the cards, so that's how that's all relevant. But it was really cool, and I actually got a new project to start on, and I did a painting a while ago that was a dove on a blue background, and that was for Emery, a Smith's employee who has brain cancer. It was a fundraiser, and that sold as well, which was really great. I'm really glad that they got the fundraiser, and they did make a profit for her, and it's one of those things where you try to help where you can. So, but that's kind of how that one goes. But all in all, I mean, I will admit with the Magna Arts Festival, the traffic did kind of slow down around like 5 p.m. because it was open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And like the real rush came between about noon and 3. And then by 5, there was hardly anybody. And by 8 p.m., there was like nobody. It was a ghost town. Like we legitimately started taking down everything at 7 p.m. because just nobody was there. But I mean, it just kind of is what it is, and you go with the punches, and it works out. And I did sell stuff, so I didn't feel like it was a total bust. I think that because I paid for my booth kind of early, I ended up a little closer to the front than some of the other people who were like way at the end of the street. I am glad for that because there were a lot of people at the event, and it was a walk to get to the end. So anyway, so that's my advice. Get your bids in early. As far as the painting that, well, not the painting, but the drawing that you guys are viewing while I recount these stories and experiences, I actually signed up for an event called a Quick Draw at the Utah State Fair. And that's where you draw something inspired from the state fair under the theme It's a Kind of Magic. So this was me practicing for it. I've really been toying with the idea of carousel horses and drawing a carousel and maybe making the carousel horse look alive and ooh, magical. So this is kind of my interpretation currently. I tried to just have the like whole carousel at the front. I tried to have that just be color and not be outlined, but it turns out that I painted too quickly and the color went everywhere. So the only way I could really see to rescue it was to put in some colored pencil and really define out the shapes a little bit better. Which works out because I was considering doing that particular part of the drawing in charcoal anyways. The only reason I didn't is because charcoal is messy, and I didn't really want to have to deal with cutting out parchment paper, putting it in the sketchbook, etc. So it's been colored pencilized, which ended up working out pretty good. I used it on the roof to try to tie it all together, and I also end up using it in the large carousel horse's eye. I went back and forth on which type of eye I liked better for the carousel horse, and I actually kind of regret coloring the pupil black. Not something you'd think I'd regret, but I mean, it just looks better to have the horse pupil open because then it kind of brings home the fact that it's not a real horse. It lacks that expressive emotion of a real horse. It looks very fake, which is actually what I'm going for in this case. So I give this one probably like a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. But you still get to see the creative artistic process. And the concept is really something I'm kind of proud of. I enjoy that it's, that the carousel that's up close, that's the whole carousel, looks kind of off kilter, almost like it's spinning. And I enjoy that I used yellow and blue, which complement each other. I think that the balance actually works out pretty well here. My only regrets right now really are that I wasn't able to really use charcoal, or that the watercolor that was blue ended up spreading a little more than I would have liked. I think if I could have gotten that out of control, it would have been at least a solid 8. But, I mean, losers can't be choosers, so it is what it is, and it's honestly fine. I'm actually starting to get to the end of my sketchbook, and I'm really excited because that means I'll have the opportunity to share it with you guys a whole sketchbook tour, which I haven't had a chance to do one of those yet, mostly because I've never finished a sketchbook, and it's been my goal for 2 years to do that, and it hasn't happened yet. Hopefully one day it will, though. That's why I continue practicing. It doesn't help that I keep jumping around to other sketchbooks too, so I have to like really school myself to come back to the same sketchbook. And ironically, what really helped me continue to come back to the same sketchbook was to make all of my drawings really pretty. Is that terrible? Alright, but this is kind of this. I know that the lighting is a little bit different. It's something that I adjust post-drawing so that you guys get a little more of the vibrancy of the photo that you're able to see in person. It's just kind of the nature of the camera that I use, that it tries to like desaturate everything. It's kind of annoying. But it's something that will get taken care of in settings when eventually I get around to it. So there we have it. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this kind of tutorial on how to make a carousel horse, but more importantly, I hope that you learned something about an arts festival. You should always go and support your local artists. We all work really hard and we just want to share a piece of what we make with everybody. So with that said, I hope to see you guys later. Bye!